Welcome again, everyone here in person today, and to everyone who is visiting our service from home. We Unitarians of Lake Norman are an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose. But we're united by our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all, and by the responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice, compassion, resistance, and dissent. My name is Sandy McFeely, and I've been an active member of this congregation since 2013. We also have a key person in our excellent music department with us, Teresa Woody, and our backup orchestra, Eddie Gunn. Today, Reverend Pat will talk to us about the tides of change and the pillars of truth. We start our services and many other activities by lighting a candle inside a chalice and speaking words that call us to that occasion. Please join me in saying today's chalice lighting words, which are in your order of service. We light this flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be fair and loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And our opening words from Pat Jobe.
This is going to be a somewhat Buddhist service, and so I thought it would be good to open up with the words of the Buddha, who said, "We are to be happy, and we are to make other people happy." Pretty good way to live. Pretty good way to live. Very different from some other traditions we know about.
And now Teresa will take us with her music into a place of worship and contemplation.
I've been instructed to use that other microphone, but I need my hands. I know that our visitors did not want to introduce yourselves, but I just want to tell you that it's not normal for us to have 5 people talk about being pissed. You're pissed too. Okay, good. Okay, you're pissed too. All right. I wanted to make sure because we had a visitor who heard how angry we are at times at certain things that are happening. And she came up to me after the service and she said, "I came to visit here because I thought you people were tolerant." And she said, "You're not any more tolerant than those other people are." And I said, "Well, we have certain circumstances we're dealing with at the moment. Normally we are very tolerant, but it didn't work. She didn't come back." The Buddhists recommend a meditation called impermanence. And the last time I talked about this, Jim Price particularly was mystified by it. So, Jim, I'm going to work it again, and I hope it means something to you. But if it doesn't, I know you'll forgive me because you're a very forgiving soul. The impermanence meditation is when the Buddhists say the entire universe disappears. No universe, nothing left. Total emptiness. And then it snaps back into being. And then it disappears. And then it snaps back into being. The Buddhists are trying to teach us about impermanence. They're trying to teach us that it's possible that eventually everything will disappear. So many of the topics we touch on these Sunday afternoons are familiar. When I first started researching this one, I was genuinely curious. Change is so powerful, so overwhelming, so pervasive. What doesn't change? And we have worked together long enough, you can probably guess some of my answers. But there are folks here for the first time, or the second time, or the third time, who may not yet know my answers. Give me a few minutes and we'll get there. Join me one more time for the impermanence meditation. Entire universe gone, entire universe back. In a split second, not even a full second, but a split second, the entire universe disappears, and then it reappears, and then it disappears again, and then it reappears again. This may have no deep and lasting meaning for you, but try it on later. Maybe on your way home. It will mess with your mind. Give it a chance. Here's another idea. Tininess. Can you consider for just a moment how tiny we all are? Think about the Appalachian Mountains, which run from Georgia to Maine. They loom skyward in a range that culminates at Mount Mitchell, which stands 6,800 feet above sea level, and on a clear night gives a great view of the stars. What is any one of us compared to all those mountains and all those stars? I once heard some Unitarians talking about our tininess, and one of them called it depressing to think how tiny we are. She was quite emphatic that this kind of tiny point of view depressed her. Doesn't have to, does it? After all, whether it was the cooling of the earth's surface 3 billion years ago or the great God up in heaven, whatever forces made those mountains also made us. This is actually my second church service of the day. And the service leader in the other church I attended said he'd heard a man talking about evolution and creation. And he said, well, if it turns out that evolution is what happened, he said, God probably gets credit for that too. As the Desiderata argues, we are all children of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. We have a right to be here. Instead of being depressed by our tiny size or the brevity of our lives swept up in the tides of change, maybe we can draw excitement and joy and enthusiasm for all of life by realizing we are who we are and we're doing the best we can with the lives we've been given. That's such a cliche. Do the best you can there, Bo. We are doing the best we can with the lives we've been given, and yet it is a charge from the circumstances we are living through to even do better. I'm so proud of the folks who protested this morning, this afternoon in Concord, and the many other protests we've been involved in, the wonderful vigil on the green after Renee Good was shot, killed, had 5 shots into her body by an officer who had his knee bumped by her bumper. There's going to be another vigil tonight, 6:15 on the same green, same Davidson green. Andy will be bringing her electric candle because the wind is blowing so hard, it will be hard to keep any other candle lighted. But the vigil tonight is for the children who are incarcerated in ICE facilities around the country, including 2-month-old Juan Nicolas. 2-month-old Juan Nicolas, who was diagnosed with bronchitis, who was sent to the hospital for 1 night and then returned to the detention center in Dilley, Texas. Who are these people? What are they doing? It is a charge from the circumstances we are living through to do our best and then maybe do a little more. We take up only a tiny corner of space and we last for only a whisper of time. But even as the tides of change come crashing in, isn't it possible that we can do a little better? You think we can, Molly? Yeah. Remember that Jimmy Carter called his book about his life as a young man, Why Not the Best? Because he turned in a report to Admiral Rickover when he was a young man in the Navy. And the Admiral took the report out of his hand and he said, son, did you do your best? And Carter had to say, well, sir, I'm not sure that I did do my best. And Rickover said, why not the best? Why not the best? Today, this afternoon, and for the rest of our lives, let's ask that same question. Why not the best? Yes, the tides of change are going to sweep us away so quickly. For some of us, it will feel like it all went by like a dream, like the twinkling of an eye. But such truth is no excuse not to give it all we got. As Longfellow wrote, we can be up and going with a heart for any fate. I once quoted that line inside my head as I closed the trunk lid on my thumb. I thought, well, maybe not any fate. Maybe the best would allow us to pay more attention to trunk lids and less attention to lines of poetry. I'm not sure. But you already know all this. You have been challenged like this in sports locker rooms, motivational speeches, scenes from movies, even beer commercials. Remember? Grab for all the gusto. So what? Why bring it up one more time? Because this is a moment like no other. This is a moment like no other. George Will challenged us in a 22-minute talk that I doubt many of you will be able to find to see what's really going on right now. I especially recommend the examples he gives of resistance among African Americans. He talks about why the Trump administration fears Black history. Because Black history is full of effective resistance. And Will goes on to say, if we knew Frederick Douglass, we would know how to speak truth to power. If we knew Harriet Tubman, we would know how to form networks of resistance. He lifts up A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin as community organizers. Fannie Lou Hamer for sustaining a spirit of resistance. George Will tells us in this stirring analysis that Donald Trump is not just taking down historical references to these extraordinary leaders because they were Black, but rather because they were effective. And imagine Mike Johnson not allowing Jesse Jackson's body to lie in state in the Capitol. Who in the world does he think he is? He's sure not Jesse Jackson. We know that. George Will points out that these black people resisting the system of oppression were effective and good at getting results, even in the face of Confederate gunfire and later hooded Klansmen. We are living through tyranny right now, and oppression and mass arrests without warrants, mass incarceration without trials, murder in the streets. And when this is over, rebuilding will take decades, and some of what we have lost will never be regained. So the question is, what will last? What's enduring about our lives, about our actions? What are the pillars of truth that will remain standing? Surely common decency and shared humanity will still be important. And those are best sustained by what the Buddhists call loving kindness. Any act of compassion or empathy is resistance to the current tyrants, because the people we are dealing with would not know compassion or empathy if it bit them on their ankles. Finally, it comes down to all of you. You. We don't have anything but each other. Ours is a religion of each other. Some of us believe in prayer. Some of us don't believe in prayer. Some of us are Christians. Some of us are not. Some of us are many, many traditions. We even occasionally have a wonderful Hindu who joins us, who at 6 years old was part of Gandhi's army resisting the British in India. He's not here today because he's 92 years old and he works 5 days a week. So he likes to take Sundays off sometimes. I sure hope I can still work when I'm 92. It comes down to us. It comes down to individual people. It comes down to individual relationships. That's how dog fences get built. That's how people get fed at FeedNC. People stepping up. There were 5 of us out there on that protest line this morning, but there were 125 to 30 other people who came from indivisible Cabarrus County. 2 of them came from indivisible Catawba County. And the last time I protested in Concord, there was a doctor and a lawyer from Greensboro who had driven over to protest Avelo Airlines. I told them, I said, a doctor and a lawyer and a preacher? I said, this sounds like a joke, doesn't it? So it comes down to us. It comes down to us relating to each other. This is how this works. And because of that, I'm going to read to you a poem by Walt Whitman, which some of you may be familiar with. The sum of all known reverence I add up in you, whoever you are. Those who govern are there for you. It is not you who are there for them. All architecture is what we do with it as we experience it. All music is what awakens from you when you are reminded by the instruments, the sun and stars that float in the open air, the apple-shaped earth and we upon it, the endless pride and outstretching of people, unspeakable joys and sorrows, the wonder everyone sees and everyone else they see, and the wonders that fill each minute of time forever. It is for you, whoever you are. It is no farther from you than your hearing and sight are from you. Your hearing and sight are from you. It is hinted by nearest and commonest and readiest. We consider Bibles and religions divine. I do not say they are not divine. I say that they are all grown out of you and may grow out of you still. It is not they who give us life, but you who give us life. Will you seek afar off? You surely come back at last in things best known to you, finding the best or as good as the best, happiest, knowledge, not in another place, but in this place, not in another hour, but in this hour. Okay, Sandy, come supervise these people.
Who's going to supervise you?
I'm not supervisable.
Well, that's a good point. Well, this is the point in the service you've all been waiting for. It's your turn to come up, speak, share a thought, an experience, a question. Questions are always good.
I'd like to turn people on to something.
All right.
Seen it before. This is when you speak, this is what I think of. Monty Python. They had a song, I think, I don't know when it came out. It's called The Galaxy. So please go home and Google that and listen to Monty Python's Galaxy, because I think you stole it.
I'm Jeff. A couple of weeks ago, there was an article in the Atlantic, which George is responsible for me reading just about every day, because the articles, some of them just blow me away, but it was by Hillary Clinton. And it was about empathy and her comments about the current administration and the lack of empathy. And that word has been reverberating in my brain ever since I read that. And that's sort of when I look out at others or what's happening, it's that either that lack of empathy that I see in people, in certain people, or for myself, the empathy I have, putting yourself in the other person's shoes, which is, of course, a very common theme in all religions, or not all, but most of them that are sympathetic. So, yeah, that's really hit me, that whole concept of empathy for others. And that's what we're talking about in some of the things today.
Yes, yes. And the empathy that you had and in going to the hospital with Mike Alec was very sweet. Very sweet. You and Paula. Thank you for that. Thank you for that empathy. Speaking of empathy, all the news says that the U.S. military is amassing huge forces for a war with Iran. I really encourage you to look online and find what Chris Hedges had to write about fighting a war with Iran. First of all, George, I think it was, didn't you point out to me this morning, we've heard nothing about what the objective is for such a war? I really believe, I've read a lot of history, I know a lot of history, I really believe that Donald Trump wants to go to war with Iran so he won't be impeached, and so maybe the Republicans will win the midterm elections. That's the only justification. When we talk about empathy, imagine having the military might of the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy destroying your home, destroying your village, destroying the lives of yourself and your children. It is horror beyond horror. And Chris Hedges points out in the article, he says, Iran is not Afghanistan. Iran is not Iraq. It's not Syria. It's not Lebanon. It is the 19th most populous nation in the world. There are 90 million people who live there. And to attack them, to destroy their lives, is an absolute travesty. Okay, Tim.
Nah, you can keep talking and keep me from myself. So many topics to dwell on. Who was this author?
Chris Hedges.
Hedges.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my head's spinning. I'm Tim. He said so. I want to jump to American exceptionalism as the opposite to what you've been preaching today.
Yes.
And I get so fed up with that we are so much better than anyone else.
Greatest nation on the face of the earth.
Always.
Yeah.
great, make America great again. No, we've always been great, and we can be as great as we can be. But I think I'll stop there, but that topic is just so offensive to me.
Let me say just another word about who Chris Hedges is. How many of you know him? Okay, good. We got a good crowd. Chris Hedges was the bureau chief for the New York Times in the Middle East for 15 years. He's a graduate of Princeton Seminary, but he never went into the ministry. He's always been a journalist. Before George W. invaded Iraq in 2003, Chris was making a commencement speech at some college somewhere. And he started talking about the folly of invading Iraq, which, by the way, is probably 10 times worse to invade Iran. But he's talking about what a bad idea it was, how President Bush had been told by the Russians and by the French, do not invade Iraq. It's just a very bad idea, and no good will come of it. Well, Chris was talking about this in his commencement speech, and all of a sudden people began to boo him at a college commencement speech. And the president of the college indicated to the security folks to get him off the stage. He was escorted off the stage. He was placed in a taxi. He said, my coat is in the president's office. They said, we'll mail it to you. When he got back to the New York Times, they suspended him. And he said, I know that suspension is just one step away from being fired. So he quit. And he has operated as an independent podcaster and book writer ever since. Brilliant, brilliant man. A little hard to take. I was physically ill after reading the article on what it would mean to attack Iran. And I'm going to stop talking. Anybody else?
Is there any way to get to the loving kindness you spoke about without going through empathy?
No, absolutely not.
I didn't think so.
You got to be empathetic to practice loving kindness. Yeah. Come on, Andy.
Well, you're talking about loving kindness, and I'm surprised nobody mentioned the monks,
Oh, yes.
because they brought that message of loving kindness and empathy and respect and peace and mindfulness throughout the country. So many people know about that and what they did, and how that impacted so many people. And they were surprised at how many people showed up along their route. And they said, it's because people need this. They have the peace, but it hasn't been present. So they brought it to the forefront. And that's a very Buddhist thing, obviously.
Oh, yeah. 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 Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Did anyone from the administration speak about the monks'
Oh.
walk? No.
I'm sure not.
A thundering silence.
I'm sorry, who came out and greeted him? Okay.
I am Veronique Singerman, and I just want to say that loving kindness starts with ourselves, and we should not forget that. If we love ourselves, it's a lot easier to love other people. When we are in agreement with our heart, it is much more possible to be open to other people's hearts. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Important.
I want to go back for a second to what Pat was talking about impermanence, and to remind you, I don't know how many of you have read much of the Buddhist teachings. If you haven't, I recommend a very good book that's just called What the Buddha Taught. And I've had that since college days, but it's still available in bookstores. And it covers in very clear, easy to digest language, the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. And we're speaking about impermanence today. And in my mind, and I would remind all of you, impermanence is closely tied to non-attachment.
Yes.
By understanding that all things truly are impermanent, it helps you to develop non-attachment. And the lead monk on the walk was asked about non-attachment, and someone said, well, aren't you attached to a loka? I mean, by that time, almost everyone in the world had become attached to a loka. And he said, think of non-attachment in this way. Once a loka went back to Florida to have the surgery, he was not physically present, and my mind was not on him. It was on what was happening around me now. And that did not mean that he wasn't concerned or that he didn't love Aloka, but he was choosing to concentrate on the now, the here and the now. So I think if you think about impermanence, think about non-attachment, because they go hand in hand. And that is taught by the Buddha, that to reject either of those leads to suffering and can drive you away from peace, which is what we were talking about. The other thing I wanted to mention to you, those of you who were here several weeks ago when the Venerable Aya Sudama came and spoke to us, the Buddhist nun, she made the trip to Washington with many others to hear the final speech. And there was a picture online of her standing and smiling with some of the others. And she sent that to me, if I can get my computer to break out of its lack of empathy for me, which it's really been getting into lately. If I can fix that, then I will share that with you. But she was there and was very happy to be there. She also was very happy to have met all of you that day. And Bruce and I drove her back to the house that she uses as her training center and where people can come, Buddhists who are passing through. We then went on to Lang Van, as I had told some of you that we would, for dinner. At the end of the meal, the owner of Lang Van, who's a woman, if you've ever been there, she remembers you forever. She came over to our table and she gave me just this paper bag with something in it. And she sort of bowed, went on, and I didn't know what it might be. We took it, we got on out into the car, and it was a very nice bottle of wine that the venerable nun that we had transported had called and asked her to give us. I never thought a Buddhist would give me a bottle of wine. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, great. Anybody else? Anybody else? This has been so wonderful. Thank you all so much. Here comes Teresa.
And Teresa will somehow, as she always does, pull this all together with music. With music, it is so easy to be in the moment.
Yes.
Okay. This fellowship is important to us all. The contributions we make today allow us to sustain and grow our congregation, and to reach out to our community, both nearby and in the larger world. Your giving affirms our commitment to each other and to the community. And may I urge the viewers at home to switch ever so briefly to the main page of our website and just hit the donate button to join in spirit with the people in this room. With grateful hearts, we receive these gifts. May they encourage us to live lives of integrity, compassion, and peace. We're also grateful to all the people who make possible our Sunday services, all our various community activities, and presenting us to the outside world through our newsletter and YouTube. And that includes everyone who graces us by being in these seats today or at home in their Barca loungers watching us. Let's look for a minute at the announcements in your order of service. Of most immediate importance is, where is the Sunday social supper going to be?
We're going to Crafty Burger around the corner here in Cornelius.
Great, thank you. Movie Tuesday. We'll see Midwinter Break, which starts at 12:05 at Birkdale. If you have questions about anything social, such as movies and suppers, contact Linda. We already heard that yesterday's build was very successful. Is there one upcoming, or should we just look at the?
In 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. And there'll be more information on their Facebook page and in the newsletter this week and the one after. Thank you. Our next second Tuesday at FeedNC is on March 12th from 10:30 to 2:30. Please contact Jim Arnold if you'd like to volunteer. The quarterly meeting of the Humanists of Lake Norman will be next Sunday, March 1st. March 1st already. At 4 o'clock following our service. It will be right here. And there will be a visiting guest, Michael Warner, who has participated in many relevant UU and humanist organizations, including as past president of the American Humanist Association. He's spoken and taught widely in the cause of humanism and humanistic values. His talk is going to be an idea that counts. I believe they also plan to have a brief social few minutes before their meeting starts, which will be held out in the atrium where we all came in. And I think there will be snacks to go with it. The Friday Action Hour is becoming more important every week. Friday at 11 o'clock. It really does make a difference. And
This week will be the 300th consecutive Friday Action Hour.
wow, that's impressive. And starting, I think, late last year and going into this year, there have been 40 or 50 or 60 more participants in each one of those Friday Action Hours. And when I can attend, I kind of scroll through and see how many are from this congregation. And there's a lot of us. That's very cool. And the Board of Trustees would like you to know that everybody is welcome to attend a Board of Trustees meeting if you're up by 10:30 and on the second Monday morning of each month. And it's so easy to attend. Just go on the website, find the calendar, and click on the word meeting or Board of Trustees meeting, and you're there. It's the Zoom link. Yeah. Okay. Our closing song is 123, Spirit of Life. Please stand as you're willing and able. And now we'll have closing words from Pat Jobe. Need your hands for these? You need your
Okay,
hands?
I'm going to use this. I might need my hands. Tracy Grimm has commented that when I wear this robe, I get more Pentecostal. Our closing words come from George Will. George Will said, Donald Trump doesn't remove plaques and try to change displays in the Smithsonian and try to mess with Black history. He doesn't do that because he's talking about Black people. He does it because he fears how effective Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, A. Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Jesse Jackson, Fannie Lou Hamer. He fears the power to create change that those people have demonstrated and continue to demonstrate in the streets of this country as we oppose the tyranny.
Please join me in saying the words as we extinguish the chalice and close this service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.